for bed at a regular time is one of the most important habits you can learn.
Who you gonna call?
Jason was my son, and today is his birthday.
Oh, Lori, scared another one away.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Sorry, Jack. Chucky's back.
We are counselors at Hackett's Quarry Summer Camp. There is a swarm of bears.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
Most people are so ungrateful to be alive, but not you.
It's showtime.
Hello, and welcome back to another wonderful episode of the Screen Stream. Now, on today's wonderful episode, we are on episode 49, and today we are doing a gaming review of Alone in the Dark from 2024. I'm gonna be honest, guys, I've never really done an actual gaming review. I think the last, game I talked about was more of the franchise itself, which was Fatal Frame, which I absolutely loved that video, and I know a lot of y'all did too. And it was super fun, but I didn't sit down and actually review the game. I just talked about the craziness of that franchise, because it literally spanned it a lot. And I'm going to be honest, Alone in the Dark, kind of the same thing, but the difference is, majority of the games after 2001, and including the movies, suck. Like, I'm not going to lie, I've looked at the reviews, I watched gameplay footage, hell, I even watched one of the movies. I specifically remember one of these movies. And I remember not really getting the movie or understanding the movie. So I didn't really want to do the entire franchise thing like I did with Fatal Frame. So we're just going to talk about mainly Alone in the Dark. We're going to do a fun, simple gaming review. I'm just going to talk about kind of, how I felt about the game, how I felt about the combat, the shooting, the enemies, so on and so forth. And I'm going to do my best to explain why I like the game, because I've seen some of the reviews and some of the scores for this game, and yeah, it's been meh. A lot of people are kind of holding grudges to a degree about some of the bugs and issues in the game, and I can get it, like 100%, guys. It's not me going, oh no, please don't hurt this game. No, I can get it. I get the frustrations, but the more I dug into this game, the more I'm a little alright, I'm a little lenient on you guys. I'll be a little lenient on you guys, because I get where they were coming from. I felt like what they were trying to achieve was a perfect little love letter to Alone in the Dark, and I think they did a good job. Now, was the game well executed? No, it had its problems, and we'll get there when we get there, but I figure this is my first time reviewing a game. Like I said, we'll start with the numbers, the stats, and then go into, kind of some details I learned about the game, and then we'll talk about a full overview of what the game is about, because there's so many people that are kind of confused about the story of the game, and I can get it, but you also got to keep in mind, it's H.P. Lovecraft. It's H.P. Lovecraft, and if you know anything about H.P. Lovecraft's stories, any movies based off of his stories, or any games based off his stories, you know they're not as complicated as they seem because of all the fancy gods and stuff. They're very, very simple to follow, but some people think a little too much into it. And trust me, I've done the same thing. Like when I was watching Glorious, which is also based on H.P. Love. I don't know if it's actual story or not, but I know it's based off of one of the creatures from H.P. Lovecraft. And I thought it was going to be like this crazy shenanigans. I'm not going to go into too much detail. If you're curious about it, I'll leave a link in the description below. It was a fun movie. Absolutely enjoyed it. The guy who plays Jason Stackhouse is in it. But, keep that in mind when going into this review, when we get to those bits of details. And I think the story will make a little bit more sense once I dive into it. But let's talk about Alone in the Dark. So this game, I'm gonna be honest. I honestly was a bit disappointed about some of the bugs in this game because of the... Let's just address the elephant in the room, okay? The fact that they delayed this game not once but twice, and it still was a bit buggy. That kind of bothers me a little bit. It's like, why are you going to delay it and still have these issues? Like, I don't know why there was a delay. I never actually looked into that. I probably should have, but I didn't. Memo to myself for next time I do this. But the point is, I don't know why they delayed the game, but I feel like if you're going to delay it at least twice, and these are months apart, by the way, because remember, it's supposed to come out in October of last year. I had it pre-ordered and everything, and unfortunately, it got pushed to January, so I pre-ordered it again, and then it got pushed to March, so I just went ahead and said, what the hell with it, and bought a actual disc copy of it when it came out, just to make sure I was going to get it this time instead of get gypped again. Trust me, my heart was broken that first time because my boyfriend went out of his way to make sure I got this game because I bought him a game earlier and he was just like, no, I want to pay the kindness bag. And then he felt so bad because now he's playing Spider-Man and I'm gypped out of a game. Like, straight up, that was the trade-off. I bought him Spider-Man, he was going to buy me Alone in the Dark. He got Spider-Man and I got a rock. Anyway, the point is, I get it. The frustrations because of this, and let's just talk about the bad real quick. The bugs. These are some of the bugs I ran into personally. Biggest bug I ran into was audio issues. And what do I mean by audio issues? I had it, I think, on multiple occasions, and it was mainly when I died. The first time I noticed this was in Chapter 2. I was at the, the swamp level, where it was right before you had to climb up the tower and, like, slide down. You run into that big creature and everything. I think it was at the end of Chapter 2, I want to say. Directly at the end, almost. And I was at the docks. I tried to take on one of these enemies, and I straight up died. No big deal. I didn't think much of it. When I came back, I heard nothing. Zero. Zilch. The only thing I heard was the crickets in the background. I'm not even joking. I think I had a little tidbit in my playthrough or my walkthrough of Alone in the Dark for Edward's side. And yeah, let me just say, it took me, I kid you not, 15 to 20 minutes of me messing around with my save files because I didn't save it beforehand. I didn't realize that there was I know there's an autosave feature. I didn't know there was a manually save feature. I didn't think about that. I didn't think about checking into that. I was just more like, oh, autosave's got my back. Autosave failed me. And remember, guys, don't rely on autosave. Autosave will cuck you on occasions, and this was one of those occasions it did with me. The point is, I died. I was like, okay, crap. Something happened in the audio. I literally left the game, went to the menu, went back into the game. Same problem. So I was like, okay, maybe it's the application. So I left the game, went to the menu, turned the entire application off, pulled it back up, went back into the game, same thing. And this went on for, like I said, 15, 20 minutes. And then almost at the last second, I started literally moving my character and then saving multiple save files and then loading it in to see if maybe the audio won't catch back up or something. Because my main concern was, I just spent 2 hours getting to this spot. I just spent 2 hours recording game footage to get here. And it's all about to be for nothing. It's all going to be for a waste. I'm going to literally have nothing to work with. Eventually, I did get it working, though. I did get it working. I was super, super happy. I almost cried a little bit because, damn it, man, you spend 2 hours in the game to get somewhere, and then it felt like all your hard work was just null and void. That's how I felt. But eventually, I got it working, and it continued on. Then in Chapter 3, when the Dark Man appeared, I died because I panicked. I didn't really show it because we had audio issues. What had happened, well, actually, no, I take that back. I did show it when I did die because he scared the hell out of me, which I thought was funny, but I digress. The point is, when I died, and I came back to redo it, the audio now, it wasn't gone or anything, it was just making like this weird white noise effect. And it was really, really loud and it was kind of obnoxious. I'm not gonna lie, it was throwing me off my game, and then I literally had to restart the chapter over. Because luckily at this point I was saving constantly now. So I restarted the chapter, and the thing was, it took me 4 resets to get the audio back. And so I was getting a little annoyed at this point. I'm like, okay, audio, you are having some severe issues here. Severe issues. But eventually we got it working. I got it back. We played through normally. Had a good time. And then it happened again at the last chapter when I was fighting the tree boss. I know, I find that funny. A tree boss. We literally were fighting a tree boss. It was I'm going to attempt to pronounce the name of this god, and you must forgive me. We all know how H.P. Lovecraft is. If you don't, look him up. Look him up. So if it sounds like I'm saying something, I'm not. Okay, let me just throw that out there. H.P. Lovecraft was one of those assholes. But the tree god in question was Shub-Niggurath. I think I'm pronouncing that right. If not, I do apologize. I can never pronounce half the creatures in the lineup, to be honest. I don't think anybody knows how to pronounce half these creatures. But the point is, when fighting this Shub-Niggurath creature, as I'm duking it out with this tree, of course I died. And when you know, the same audio glitch that happened with the Darkman happened again. I want to say I actually kept it in for the finale. I'm not sure if I actually kept that one or redid it and then had it into the game. I do not know. But yeah, I had that issue, a lot of audio issues just like that. And it took me a bit of a struggle and a bit of time to get it working. So I just learned when to save and when not to die to avoid these kind of issues. But that was one of my that was literally my biggest gripe, was just when I died, we had audio issues and it was super, super annoying. The second glitch / bug I was running into, which is something a lot of people were running into. I even got caught it a couple of times. I kept getting stuck on boxes. Multiple times, no matter whose character I played. I think with Emily, I got stuck on her, I think in the corner at one point in her chapter, I got stuck on a box. And with Edward, I got him stuck on a flower pot. I got him stuck on a box next to a bed. Like, I think I got him stuck on the boat, but I didn't show that. But the point is, I kept getting stuck on a box. Like, a box. Like, how do you get stuck on a box? I don't know. And I mean, like, it was bad. Like, I would, like, I don't know if it was because I was walking to it and I would pull up my menu or something and then pull it down, then my character would still be running or mid-walking or something, and then step into the box, or the, the hitbox ratio of these boxes or whatever. The point is, once I got stuck, all I could do was spin around and run in place. I couldn't do much of anything, and it was super, super aggravating. You know, the first time I was just like, haha, that's funny. By that second time you saw in my game, that was like the 6th time that happened. Okay, I'm over-exaggerating. It was only the 4th time that it happened. But the point is, it happened 4 times in the game, and that was 4 times too many. Let me phrase that. 3 times too many. I'm willing to forgive it 1 time. 1 time, aha, very funny. You didn't think about this boss. Because the first boss I got stuck on was a flower pot. I think it's chapter 1. I think it was at the ending of the middle of chapter 1, right before you get to the corner store. And yeah, I just thought, okay, you know what? Maybe they just didn't think about this because this is literally out the way. I was exploring where I shouldn't have been exploring. That's why I didn't think much of it. But then when it happened a couple of more times, I started to really, really get annoyed. Like, and this is just on Edward's side. I think I only got stuck twice with Emily. Once or twice. Well, yeah, that was a very annoying bug to deal with. And then on top of that, the last bug I am dealing with currently, I do not know if it's still standing as we're speaking. There's some trophy glitches going on my end with the PlayStation. I don't know if it's for the computer as well, but I know PlayStation is having issues with some of the trophies. And it's particularly in the ending department. I do not know why, but Edward's quote-unquote bad ending and Emily's bad ending, they're not propping up for me. You have to, because throughout the game you got to collect these little collectibles. And these collectibles, of course, give you some insight, a little bit more knowledge about what's going on. and some of them give you different endings. Now, one of the endings I found unintentionally, and I had a good time with it, it worked out fine. I didn't have an issue with it. But then I tried to actually go for Emily's bad ending since I had everything set up and did everything right. But it's not giving me the prompt to, instead of having the gun, you're supposed to take your other hand and do like a little symbol or something to signify to the dark man, hey, I'm joining your cult, kind of thing. And it's not giving me the prompt or anything. And I'm doing everything they're telling me. They're like, take the analog stick, move left, do this. And I'm like, how much more left do you want? And like, if I keep going any more left, I'm going to break my analog stick. So I don't know if that's fixed because I haven't tried it in about a week at this point. So maybe I'll attempt it again this weekend and see if that got fixed, because I would like to platinum this trophy, this game I should say, not these trophies. But I would like to platinum this game, because I am kind of close to it. I got to finish the game in less than 3 hours, which we will be attempting, by the way, on Friday, which is tomorrow, or technically today if you're watching the podcast, because I'm recording this a day in advance. But we got to do it less than 3 hours, which I think I can accomplish. I got to do the good end, not the good ending, the bad ending for Edward, the bad ending for Emily, and then I got to get one more little secret cutscene that I didn't realize was a secret cutscene until I got all the little collectibles. So yeah, I'm almost there, but I'm hoping maybe it'll cooperate and I can get these trophies done, and they're going to have another platinum game in my pocket. But yeah, those were like the most annoying aspects of the bugs and everything. But to continue on with the complaints, we're going to talk about the combat system. And I ranked this pretty low. And this is a good segment, by the way, to get into the ranking of how I felt about everything. So the combat, I ranked a 6, a very low 6. I'm talking about one more, achoo, and it's going to be in 5.9. Because it's that clunky. It's that clunky. Now, the reason why I don't give it a 5 is because I do like the aspect of breakable weapons. Like, that is survival horror at its finest. You know, you're actually giving me a weapon that makes me feel safe until it breaks. And then I'm just like, oh, shit, I gotta go. And, you know, I'm running off and everything. And that happened to me a couple of times. I think I caught it in chapter 2 or something, where I was like, come at me, bro, and I swung the weapon, and then it broke, and I was like, I would like to apologize real quick, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it, man, could we just, like, go out for coffee or something? And then he proceeded to swing at me a couple of times. And that was my bad for being overly confident in that department. But the point is, I like that aspect that, you know, you gotta find these weapons, and then they will break over time. My problem with the combat system is when you swing, it's like, it says hold it for, I think, a heavy one and then tap it for a light one, but it felt the same no matter how I did it. And I'm going to be honest, the only difference I did feel was if I did heavy, my weapon broke quicker. My weapon felt like it broke quicker. Other than that, I didn't feel like I was doing any more or different damage than I had been. But it just felt overly clunky. It's like I couldn't really like swing and move to the left. The amount of times I would go to swing and like swing around the enemies, or not even swing. I like, oh my god, there was these one enemies, little bug creatures. Oh, I hate them. I hated them. That's why I ran through this chapter 4 with the boat and I stuck in the swamp. Those creatures were so annoying that I did try to beat one with a melee, and I don't know if it's the hitboxes on these creatures or the melee itself, but no matter how I swung at these stupid bugs, they would not die. They would not die, and they were very, very aggravating. And this is another thing that aggravated me about the bugs, is that they were the only creatures, only out of all the creatures, all the variants we saw, that could actually jump on you and you had to mash a button to get them off of you. Which I usually don't mind, but I thought that was a weird choice to add that at chapter like 4. Like, why are you going to introduce a new mechanic to the game that only fits to this creature? Like, just this creature, nobody else. So again, I don't know if it was the creature itself that was the issue or the combat that was the issue. But yeah, those stupid little bug things were ticking me off. Like, I was not happy with them. Like, 100%. Which brings me to the shooting. The shooting was nice. I enjoyed the shooting. I give it a 9. It felt very smooth. I did not have a problem with it. I liked the amount of ammo that we had. It gave me just enough to make me a little nervous to go into the next section, but not enough where I was like, okay, I gotta rely on my melee. Because don't get me wrong, I don't mind relying on my melee, but when my melee combat skills is not that reliable, I need my gun for backup. And I do like that we were introduced to not only just a standardized, cop pistol in some aspects, like I think it was a revolver, but also get like a really cool Tommy gun, and we get a shotgun, and I enjoy the different types of guns. That is definitely a staple when it comes to survival horror games, like especially action survival horror games. There's always the different types of guns, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I want to say my favorite gun would have been the Tommy gun. That was super, super fun. Very easy, very quick. I liked the little spurts shooting at it. I enjoyed it. But yeah, 9 on the shooting. The enemies, I gave a 7. And the reason why is 2 points were dragged because of those damn bug creatures. I'm not even lying. That's how much I hated those bug creatures. Again, like I said, I don't get why they added a new mechanic to the game out of nowhere. And the fact that I honestly felt like their hitboxes were just off. Like, you could literally shoot them dead in the face with the shotgun. And okay, let me rephrase that. It looks like you're shooting them. Like, because the way they move at you, they come like right underneath your legs and then sprout up above you and like jump on top of you. And then you gotta grab them and like shake them off of you and you throw them and everything. And then they scurry away and then come back at you. Super annoying. Complete inconvenience. Not even gonna lie. But the point is, you point the gun at them, boom, 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 and nothing happens. Now, sometimes I could chalk it up to maybe I had bad aim. Maybe I just undershot. But you're telling me you made the hitboxes to the point that if I happen to shoot just slightly in between their legs, it doesn't count as a hit? These little guys are moving all over the place. They're the quickest enemies out of the bunch. And you're telling me you couldn't at least do a little bit bigger hit boxes, because these guys are smaller. Like, they're the smallest ones out of all the enemies in the whole game. Now, I did like some of the other enemies. Like, the other enemies were very fun. The ones that came out from underneath the ground, I thought those were fun. They were a little tough depending on where you were at, which I thought that was a little weird myself. That sometimes when fighting them, even when I was repeating a chapter, it seemed like I could take 2 shots, blow one's head off, and then boom, he's dead. And then I could do the same angle, same shot, could not blow his head off, but it took 6 shots to put him down. So it's kind of more of an inconsistency of whether or not they were strong or weak, even though we're on the same level with the same enemies. But I did like the little ground enemies, our normal mold-looking enemies that kind of gave me they reminded me of the mold creatures from Resident Evil 7, like design-wise and everything, looked just like those creatures from Resident Evil 7. And then I want to say there was that weird one that had like the bulge on the side. It was kind of tall, and he had the lanky arm up top, and then the one at the bottom or something, he kind of like hobbled and charged at you. And that design wasn't too bad. I enjoyed that one as well. But, I wish to some degree there was maybe 1 or 2 more variants. Like, I really wanted to fight that big one. That big one near the ending of Chapter 2. Like, the huge one. The one that we, when we're playing as Emily, we have to, hide from. I really would have loved to taken a crack at that. Because, that guy looked terrifying. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that guy looked terrifying. But, all the creatures look pretty good. I like the design of the creatures. The creatures looked really, really good. I just wish there was a little bit more variance going on, because again, one of them looks straight up like they belong from Resident Evil 7. Now, don't get me wrong, these were not just simple creatures. Like, they started off simple, and as the game progressed, I want to say they got more and more aggressive. Like, there was one at one point who just straight up charged at me for no reason, out of nowhere. Like, I just happened to stick my toe right across that line, and he just, boom, like a Mack truck against my ass. I was just like, Jesus Christ, bro, back up a little bit. Whew. But overall, the enemies weren't too bad. I thoroughly enjoyed some of the enemies. Again, those little bug ones on the swamp level, I just wish those were out the game. Those are the enemies I wish would just be completely changed. Or at least change the hitboxes on them, man. Change the hitboxes. But let's move on to some more positive. Some more positives. So speaking of enemies, let's talk about the bosses. Now, the bosses, I'm going to be honest, I gave it kind of a low 8. And the reason why I give it a low 8 is because some of the bosses felt good. Felt real good. Again, fighting the tree god, the black goat, I was going to say the black goats without horns, but I think that's what they call Gracie. Basically, the black goat, the Mother of Many Youngs, Shug Niggurath. Basically, that boss fight felt really, really good. I like the idea of having to fight this tangled up mess of a tree on 4 legs that's got 3 heads and like 20 sets of different teeth and tentacles everywhere. It was pure H.P. Lovecraft. Like, I am looking at that design like, that is just beautiful. Cause it almost actually, if you actually look up pictures of what the actual god's supposed to look like, or let me phrase that, goddess, because she's a fertility goddess, it's a pretty good design choice. It really is a perfect design choice. And it looks just like her, as weird as that sounds. But the point is, her boss fight was really, really good. And I like the fact that it was in different layers, because you start off up top, you had a shooter, kind of weaken her a little bit, then you drop down, then you fought her on one phase, and then she kind of flipped you, and then you had to do one more phase, and of course you had to defeat the minions that were coming out. And that felt really, really good. The arena was a bit small for my liking, especially with how many enemies were regurgitating out of her. But again, it makes sense why these enemies were coming out of her, because that's something she actually does as a goddess, like straight up. So the attention to detail there, absolutely love that. I absolutely love that, because this is something she does. Apparently, this is a common thing. She just gives birth to chaos and madness, it almost seems like. But I feel like there should have been more bosses like that. Like, don't get me wrong, the only other boss fight you have a quote-unquote encounter like that with is the Jacob figure you have at the Antarctic base with, when you're playing Edward, at least. Actually, no, I think Emily does too. And yeah, Emily does, but Emily doesn't know it's Jacob. Because she never read that information. Edward does. But the point is, that one felt a little easy. A little too easy for a boss fight. Like, I get it was supposed to be like, I guess, a quick little fight with Jeremy. I know I call him Jacob, but there's a whole thing. We'll get there when we dive more into the story itself. But when fighting the Jacob/Jeremy character, and it's all like, don't get me wrong, the design of this creature was cool. The design of the creature looked just like something pulled straight out of H.P. Lovecraft. But it was fighting the creature that felt a little weak, because there was literally like I kid you not, a wall. Just a little wall where you start off at. And I was just ring-arounding the Rosie against this wall while he chased me. I think he did 2 hits, and then I would shoot him, run around the wall again, do his little hits, I would shoot him, he would collapse down, I would grab the dagger, stab him, and there went half his life. It was the dagger. I think the dagger took too much of his life, and there wasn't too much counterplay or anything to do with this guy. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't want him, like, super, super strong where it makes me want to, like, break a controller or something, but it felt like, you know, we didn't have much combat to begin with when it came to bosses. Like, we had the combat, yeah, with the little enemies, but we never had boss encounters. But, you know, that one was more of the weaker one. And then the third one with the big creature that I made a mention with Edward as Emily, it stalks you around a little bit and you have to hide from it. You know, you can't fight it. And I did like that because that's a different type of boss fight and to a degree. And I do enjoy boss fights like that where it's you can't really fight it, you have to run from it. And that's where I like the Darkman boss fight too. Now I don't know if they're considered actual boss fights or just running from the boss, but that's what it kind of felt like to me. Because these were guys that could insta-kill you if they touched you, and you had to run from them. So to me that kind of felt kind of like a boss, but not really at the same time, because when I think of boss fights, I think of like Dark Souls or something, you know, just like a god standing there in front of me going, "How dare you challenge me, you pathetic peasant." Like straight up, that's what I think of when I say boss fight. But there are different types of boss fights out there. And, you know, that one, if that is considered a boss fight, I like that variation. I thought it was nice. So that's why I give it a solid 8. Because, I mean, the boss fights is... why do I keep saying boss vices, man? Vices? What vices? What is that? Why is the boss having a vice here? No. The thing is with the boss fights, though, there's different types. Some of them were stronger than others, but the Jacob one was just, it felt too easy. It just really felt too easy. But let's go ahead and move on to some of the stronger aspects. We got the music. I give that music a solid 9. Like, I'm talking about like a perfect 9 because it is beautiful music, it's creepy, it's atmospheric. The reason why I don't give it a 10 is because of the pettiness. Pettiness. Let's just leave it up to that. It's pettiness. So yeah, you get a 9 music. You get a 9. If you want to know why, sum it up, YouTube. During my live stream, Emily, apparently, I'm not in trouble or anything, but it did say that if I decide to monetize that video, I probably wouldn't get it because of the music in the menu. And I'm just like, really? 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 Okay, you want to play that game? Alright, here's some pettiness for you. 9. Is that fair? Not really. Not really, but that's just me being petty. And if I wasn't being petty, the music would be a solid 10. Being solid 10. Being truthfully, it would be a solid 10, but me being petty, we're giving it a 9. Because that's my middle finger to the music. I'm sorry, I cannot stand that shenanigans. I really can't. I cannot stand that. Like, I get it. It's music in a game. It's in the menu. But when I'm trying to do an introduction or kind of, you know, get the ball rolling, I got to start somewhere. And I figured, you know, maybe praise the game a little bit for its music. But you know what? You do you, boo-boo. You do you. I hope all that money you get from me makes you so happy. I hope it makes you happy. Especially with the fact that you, postponed this game, what, twice already? Was it twice? I think it was twice. Yes, you worked with a company that stopped this game twice. So yeah, good luck with that. I hope you get all your money. Anyway, besides that pettiness, let's keep on moving. Atmosphere. Love the atmosphere. Oh my god, the atmosphere, creepy, 100%. 100%. There was not a single moment, even with the bugs and glitches, like straight up, especially when I got caught on the boxes and I had to reset the game, the fact that I wasn't even too mad about it and could get right back into being scared about going around the corner, I thought was brilliant. I absolutely love the atmosphere, the sound effects, the cues they had, the creepy like whispering and everything you've heard. It was beautiful. Just the feel of this game, it made me scared to go down certain streets. And I'm from Louisiana, okay? I'm from Louisiana. I knew exactly where they were at when they were talking about the French Quarters and everything. I was like, I've been down that street. To be frank, I wouldn't want to go down there on a normal Tuesday afternoon, let alone in the middle of the night. If you don't know, you don't know. If you do know, you do know. The French Quarters is not a place you want to be messing around with. But I enjoyed the atmosphere of this game because it did make you feel unsettled. It make you feel very creeped out, very intense. And again, the music definitely added to this atmosphere. It literally just like spine tingling and all chilled and stuff. So it was really, really good. That's why I give that a solid 10. That's why I give that definitely a solid 10. Now, the story-wise, originally I had it knocked down to about an 8 because I was confused. But then I started doing a research and digging around, and I had to give it a 10. I had to give it a solid 10 because what they did was really, really good. Like, what they did with the storytelling, to a lot of people, it seemed confusing. And I can get why it seemed confusing because of what was going on. But when I get more into the details of the story and the details of the game, I think y'all can understand why I went with a 10. If y'all don't, please leave a comment down below and tell me why you think the story deserved a lower score than this. And then on top of this, so we're going to put a pin on the story, come back to that. Let's go to the acting. Solid 10 out of 10 from everybody. 10 out of 10 from everybody. I had a blast playing both characters, which I do recommend, by the way, when it comes to the story, play both sides. It may not make sense until you play both sides and get all the information, and then the story's gonna make sense. Then the story's definitely gonna make sense, and it's well done. The acting from David, from Jodie, they did an amazing job, especially David. I had a blast with David. Like, David says some of the best one-liners I needed in my life. I haven't heard some of these one-liners in a long time, and the fact that he did some of these just so perfectly, like one of my favorite ones is, "Are you a thinking man, Mr. Edwards?" I try not to be. Like, I try not to be. Like, I originally thought he was going to say something else, and he's just like, "No, I try not to be a thinking man." It's little shenanigans like that Edward was doing or saying that made me really, really enjoy the acting. And some of the side characters, like the people who played Ruth and the little girl Gracie and stuff, phenomenal job. I thoroughly, especially with Ruth. There was something about Ruth I didn't realize until Elizabeth's chapter. Why did I call her Elizabeth? Until Emily's chapter. I just thought she was a party girl, but then when she made moves on Emily, it made more sense. It honestly made more sense to me, and I was like, that's why you're in here. It's not the fact that you're just a party girl. You're one of those party girls. And again, we'll get there when we get there when it comes to the story. But yeah, the acting and story-wise, together meshed extremely well. Absolutely loved everything they did with it. I think David really let his craziness out, especially during his bad ending. I didn't get to play it, but I did see what it looked like because I was trying to figure out how to get it. And yeah, no, he lets loose his craziness at the end of that bad ending. So overall, I give this game a good solid 8 because of, just everything combining together. And I also had to give it a nice little, I can't believe you did that, but that was nice kind of extra point. Because in one chapter, in chapter 4, I want to say, near the middle-ish of the game, when you go into the doctor's office, they do I'm talking about a nice reference and nod to the old school gamers. I'm talking about if you did not play a 90s game or an early 2000 game with the set camera angles, it was a lovely, lovely nod to that generation of gamers, and I felt that. At first, I was like taken aback. I was very jarring. It's very jarring because I have not played a fixed camera angle game in a minute. What I mean by fixed camera game in a minute is I want to say one of the Resident Evils you can do that where you have it where you could change the camera to be old school or something. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a true blown, this is not in the settings, this is how the game's supposed to play out, fixed camera angle. It's like your camera's set to a certain way and you have tank controls. That was a real treat that I was not prepared for. The tank controls. Now I remember why I don't like tank controls. Oh my god, it brought me back to some horror moments where I was trying to walk and then the camera angle changed and next thing I know my character turns around and runs into a wall. I'm just like, no. Damn camera angles. But I did like that. I thought that was really, really nice. I'm sad that it was only for one part. I was kind of confused why they did that. But what I thought was funny was that Edward made a comment about it. Like, this just seems off. And it's like almost like he's talking to us as the audience. Like he knows that the camera angle has changed. It's no longer over the shoulder. No, it's on against the wall staring at y'all. And he's just like, this just seems off. But I love that little reference, and I absolutely adored that. I thought that was really, really cool. I really did think that was really, really cool. Well, yeah, that's overall the kind of basic score I have. For a reimagining, it's not that bad. It's actually really, really good. The fact that they took a lot of aspects, not just from the first game. Oh no, I thought they just reimagined the first game. Apparently it seems like they did a combination, added a lot of reference and nods to Alone in the Dark 2 and 3. And I really like that concept there, where they didn't just take the first one and remake it. Granted though, I would have really would have liked to see a remake of the original game, because my only thing with the original game I ever played with was when I was a kid, about 6 or 7. My Uncle David let me play the game, and it wasn't no more than about 20-30 minutes of the game. And I specifically remember something about a hallway and being scared to death by some creature, because you couldn't fight. There was no weapons in the game. You had your fist, sure, but I didn't know how to fight a monster. And Uncle David was just like, you need to run, girl, you need to run. So I started running, and then I got really upset because, again, I'm 6 or 7 playing a game that I shouldn't be playing. Because, yeah, it's a very scary game for a child. The point is, I don't have too much input I can put on the original 92 game. But from what I do remember, and from what I have read and reviewed, it was supposed to be really, really scary. See, the original 1992 Alone in the Dark was beyond spooky. Beyond spooky. They went full horror. And if it wasn't for this game, because this game is given the award, and I think several people have said this and actually given it an award, it is literally the first 3D horror game. Not a point and click, not one of those storytelling ones like, what was that one with the girls at the sleepover, and you had to tell them where to go and everything and save their life. It wasn't nothing like that. It was literally the first 3D horror game. Without Alone in the Dark, we would not have Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Clock Tower, which, by the way, is anybody making a Clock Tower reimagining or remake? Please say something in the comments below, or at least do a shout out on Twitter or something. Like, I need to know. Clock Tower needs some love, man. I need to play that game. I haven't played that game in years. I mean years. I need it though. I need it in my life, especially the dog. I need that dog. Or was it a wolf? I can't remember. He was just a 4-legged creature that hung out with me, and he was my best friend, and made life so much easier in that game. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking about my stuffed animal. I was clenching the entire time. But you know what I'm talking about when it comes to the Clock Tower series. That thing really does need some love, though. I mean, come on. Dude, the scissors, badass. But without the original Alone in the Dark, we would not have a lot of these games, because this game pushed the boundaries. It pushed the boundaries a lot. Frederick, I'm trying to pronounce his last name. He's a French guy, so if I say your name wrong, sir, I do apologize. Frederick Raynal, R-A-Y-N-A-L. He created this game, and he really wanted to make a spooky, scary game. He actually wanted to go full horror. Hell, I think he even got in cahoots with somebody that was digs their a big time movie director or something. I want to say it was it could have been, I don't think when I was reading through it, I want to say it said Stephen King, John Carpenter, or somebody. He was talking to somebody about making a very spooky horror fantastic game. And that's where he decided to make Alone in the Dark. And the reason why because I think they originally wanted to call it In the Dark or some other variations, but they added the alone factor to it because, well, You're alone. You're supposed to be by yourself. And that's what makes a really good game. Like, I'm gonna be honest. Any good horror game where you are directly by yourself and no companionship at all, that is terrifying. Especially when you have no companionship at all. You know you're being chased around by a bunch of ghosts, and you have no weapons. That is why Fatal Frame, which, by the way, I do believe without this game, we would not also have Fatal Frame. I don't know if there's any correlation between this game and the inspiration behind Fatal Frame, but Fatal Frame was also a very good game with the whole fixed camera angles, tank controls, survival aspect, no weapons whatsoever, except for a camera. But still, though, at least the camera could do something. You can't really do much in the original Alone in the Dark. Like, I think you're like fighting the ghost with your fist or something. But this reimagining did a fantastic job. Did a fantastic job kind of capturing that same atmosphere that it had, because and it's sad to say, the first one was mainly the horror one. They actually said that the house, which is Drusetto, by the way, Drusetto was haunted. There was H.P. Lovecraft creatures involved, and, you know, very, very spooky. Well, let me give you a bit of a rundown of what the first game is supposed to be. So, in the first game, we do have Edward Carnaby and Emily Hartwood. Those are recurring characters. Apparently, Emily Hartwood actually comes back in Alone in the Dark 3 when she goes missing while filming a movie. What movie was it? Because they disappeared from a film crew in a ghost town. It's called like Slaughter Gulch or something like that. There was a little nod of reference to it in the game. Apparently, oh God, what's her name? I started with a P. I couldn't say her name the first time either. She had a really unique name in the files, though. I liked her. She was the writer, though. She was the writer. And we actually hear her story overview when going through the notes and everything. But yeah, she wrote the little nod of reference. It was called Slaughter Gulch or something like that. But yeah, Emily was working on that one in Alone in the Dark 3 when she went missing. So supernatural private eye Edward Carnaby had to go over there and save her. But I digress. The point is, these are two recurring characters that frankly, are good choices. Good choices. Like, I didn't feel like, even in the reimagining, that Emily was a weak woman. She felt strong and independent. I felt bad for her more than Edward in this game because of the fact that, oh my God, those people were mean. They were really, really mean, but we'll get there when we get there. But in the first original 92 game, the simple premise was Jeremy Hartwood. We all know what that means. You don't go watch Scooby-Doo. Let's go watch Scooby-Doo, because again, you can't say that magic word here on YouTube, otherwise demonetized. The point is, he himself, and you as Edward had to go into Drusetto to investigate a piano. Now, I can't remember the full aspect of why you gotta go check out this piano. I think it's like you're looking for something, or you have to go grab something, or grab the piano itself. I don't know. But the point is, you as Edward had to go into this house, all the way up in the attic. Oh, excuse me. Wow, there it was. I was waiting for that. As soon as I lifted my arm up, I was like, oh, here comes the burp. Point is, you go all the way up to the attic, and then that's where you're basically stuck at for the rest of the game, almost, because it's non-linear. It's not like the reimagining where we have kind of our choices of where we kind of want to explore at and especially when we open up a lot of these areas and shortcuts. We, can explore a lot of the mansion, and it's not till like later on in, like, say, chapter 3 or 4, we start not being able to go back to certain areas. With the original 92 one, it was very lenient. You didn't really have to go very far. It was like each room was connected, and you could only go so far until about midway through the game. And eventually, that's when everything kind of opened up, and you were able to explore around, and then you can go underneath these tunnels and everything. But, yeah, Edward shows up trying to investigate this. The house is haunted by a ghost pirate named Perez. Now, that name may sound familiar because that's also a nod in reference to the Perez Shipping Company that took care of the Dark Man's trinkets and stuff when he showed up to do a show that Jeremy watched as a kid that scared him. That doesn't make any sense. I'll explain it later. Point is, that's another little nod and reference, and he is a occultist who basically did rituals and things he shouldn't have done in the basement, basically pre-usual shenanigans to prolong his life and make himself extremely rich. It didn't work. The house ended up being basically not torn down, I was going to say burned up or something. The point is, he didn't make it, and his spirit got stuck inside of a tree. Now, he's supposed to be the tree boss that we end up fighting in the reimagining, but instead of it being him, it's actually the god itself. You know, the artist, goddess herself, Shub-Niggurath Roth. She is, and I like that. I like the fact that we didn't use a human spirit as our final boss. It's actually a freaking god. I love, y'all have no idea how much I love fighting gods in video games because of a joke. Because of one joke. So my roommate and friend of I don't know how many years now, since high school, he was playing a game. And this is like one of the first games he ever played that the final boss was technically a god, like an actual god. And he's like all into this game, and as soon as he gets to the boss, he's looking at it, and he's like, oh my god, Amanda, I can't believe we're actually about to fight a freaking god, man. Holy crap. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, oh, it's a god? Huh. What a twist. And Andrew just looked at me and said, what? I was like, yeah, what a twist. It's a god. So what? What do you mean, so what? It's a god. I'm like, yeah. And he's not the first god boss fight I've ever did. And he just looked at me like, what, there's more? There's more? I'm just like, yeah, man. Yeah, there are a lot of games where the final boss is a god or a goddess. I don't know why a lot of games like to do that, but they do. It's just like, not even godlike either. I mean like actual gods. I think it's because I played Devil May Cry way too much as a kid. But like I said, I did like that aspect that they changed it from a possessed tree by a guy who wanted to prolong his life to an actual goddess. Now that's where our boy Edward actually comes in though in the '92 game where Perez needed to possess Edward now to get out and unleash the hell upon Earth. And because of this, that's why Jeremy ended up himself, because he didn't want Perez to take him over. Now that's actually a nice nod and reference to the, or let me phrase that. The reimagining does a nice nod and reference to this because A, we've changed it to where Jeremy's no longer dead. Okay, Jeremy's no longer dead. In the reimagining, he's just missing. But there is a noose in the attic and the piano is crashed down into a parlor. And I do believe that is a perfect little nod and reference to the original one, kind of changing what happened in the game. But after that, and the heavy influence of H.P. Lovecraft is all over here. Perez even name dropped. I'm talking about name drops Cthulhu himself. Which again, if you're gonna name drop any H.P. Lovecraft creature, Cthulhu is the one. Cthulhu is the one to name drop because he's the well known. He's the one that everybody knows. Everybody knows. But because of all this shenanigans, and of course at the end of the game, you ended up stopping Perez and then like fleeing the mansion and everything, stopping the evil. You could tell that from that first game alone, it was pure horror, pure survival. And that is something to admire, and that is why I wish there was an actual remake of the game. Don't get me wrong, this reimagining was fun. It was brilliant. I loved it. But I would have really, really, really loved to see an actual back-to-basic survival horror game. You know, no guns. Like, it's seriously, if they would just taken out the guns and just had melee and, like, maybe focus on fixing the melee so it wasn't as clunky, I bet you this game would have been brilliant. Like, bloody brilliant. Don't get me wrong, it's still a good game. Again, I give it a solid 8. Solid 8. this is where I also might add Alone in the Dark 2. Now, I know what you're thinking. Amanda, why would you bring up Alone in the Dark 2? I know you said that, they took references from all three games. And I made a mention about the third game about, Emily coming back. She's a recurring character. And the whole, Slaughter Gulch thing. But 2 is where things started taking a bit of a turn. 2 and 3, basically. 3 was kind of more of a meh game because, unfortunately, by the time 3 came out, Resident Evil and all the other games, such as Silent Hill as well, have came out and kind of improved on what Alone in the Dark from 92 did. Because you gotta think, Resident Evil 1, the original one, I think came out in, 96, 97? So, yeah, we give it about 4 or 5 years after Alone in the Dark. So they had plenty of time to figure some shenanigans out. Because Alone in the Dark 2 didn't come out until 93. Actually, no, because Alone in the Dark 3, crap. I actually didn't, oh my god, I am a goofy goober. I didn't write down the year Alone in the Dark 3 came out. I wrote down the year Alone in the Dark 2 came out and the little spin-off, but not Alone in the Dark 3. Hang on a second. I shall Google this real quick. Alone in the Dark 3. See, when did this one come out? 94. Let me drop my phone, shall I? 94. So actually, no, it was still ahead of the curve there. Still ahead of the curve. But I want to say maybe they tied. When did Resident Evil come out? Let me look that up real quick. I didn't think this was going to be useful information, so that's why I didn't write it down. Let's see, Resident Evil, the original 1996. Oh yeah, 96. Okay, yeah. So, gets me wondering, why didn't 3 do that good then? I thought people didn't like 3, according to the reviews anyway. But I want to say it's because by the time you got to Alone in the Dark 2, they actually kind of was starting to step away from the horror elements. And I know that sounds a little weird, but they started doing more action horror and less survival horror. And with 2, they took away the voodoo, kind of fun stuff we have for the ghost and supernatural aspects of the haunted house. And we have more of a zombie action shooter. We actually have a true blue zombie action shooter. Because I want to say their exact words on the Wikipedia is zombies and pirates and gangsters. Pirates and gangsters. And, yeah, right here. I wrote it down right here. Pirates and gangsters. But what's great about the second game is this one, of course, brought in more of the action elements that we see in the reimagining now with the Tommy gun, the shotgun and stuff. So they stepped away from the hand-in-hand combat and went more with the, hey, grab a gun, let's shoot some things. We brought in the zombies, which, Resident Evil, when it came out in 96, 3 years later, I feel like they may have taken a little inspiration from Alone in the Dark 2. And not just 1, but Alone in the Dark 2 for their idea of zombie shooters. Now, don't get me wrong, there's always been zombie shooters out there, especially like in arcade games in the 80s and stuff. But nothing to this extent, 3D horror and everything. But the reason why I bring it up Alone in the Dark 2, and I'm talking about the action, bringing in the guns and stuff, it also brings in a little character that we've seen all up and down the game. We even saw it in the prologue. And what I find very, very interesting is that when the original 93 game came out for Alone in the Dark 2, there was also a prologue. There was also one. And it came on a floppy disk. And for those who don't know what a floppy disk is, please Google it. Please Google it. And if you do know the floppy disk is, man, we're getting old, aren't we, man? We're getting old. But the point is, they also had a little thing, and it was Gracie. Yes, we got to do a little prologue with Gracie. It was Christmas Eve. She's stuck in a little toy box, and you had to collect these little Jack-in-the-Boxes. That's why they call that little prologue Jack in the Dark. Instead of Alone in the Dark, it's Jack in the Dark. And you just had to find these little jack-in-the-boxes. And there was actually a nice little nod and reference to that in the game as well. It's one of the little tokens you can find. Or not tokens, but the little collectibles. I forget what they're called. It starts with an L, like a Luminaire or something like that. The point is, yet again, like I said, Gracie is stuck in this little toy shop and she's scared out of her mind. And it's kind of like the same thing with the prologue we saw when we could get the game originally back in October. You know, she pre-ordered it, you were able to get the prologue, and you played as Gracie, you explored a little bit of the mansion, kind of went into the weird realm, and then, you know, it ended. I'm going to be honest, it was very short. It was very, very short, and I was very disappointed by that, but I liked it. I liked it. But I thought that was a very nice reference. But what made me want to actually talk about this game is sequel potential. So when you're playing Emily's side, when you're playing her side, at the end of the game, there is a bit of a difference. Because the endings are the same, especially if you fight the tree god, instead of going for the two evil endings or the out-of-the-box endings, which we'll get there when we get there. They make a mention of this. So Gracie in the second game is kidnapped by a group of gangsters and taken to a mansion called Hell's Kitchen. Now see, when I heard that name originally in the reimagining version, because in the end of the game, Jeremy makes a mention, yeah, we can always take her to Hell's Kitchen. I thought it was a joke or a reference to New York, you know, being there is a Hell's Kitchen, New York up there. That's where Daredevil likes to hang out, so does Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and Iron Fist. But the point is, I didn't know that Hell's Kitchen was the name of the mansion in the second game. So that could be a bait for the sequel game, that maybe Grace is in trouble, she's kidnapped, we gotta go to Hell's Kitchen. This could open the door and the floodgates to more games, more reimaginings. Now, again, I feel like if they do go in this direction, go into this route, if they take the criticism that we have been putting out, change a lot of the bugs and audios, and please, for the love of God, do not freaking move the date of it coming out multiple times, I think people might actually like that type of game. I definitely would, because I would be interested to see what you would add to it, especially with what you added to this game as a reimagining. I would love to know more about this. But yeah, you can see that these three games combined definitely made this reimagining really, really brilliant, and you could feel the love letter. You could feel the love letter they had for Alone in the Dark. I love the reference, the nods, the little tidbits, the commentary. Hell, I even like the jab they had at Frederick. Okay, it really wasn't like a jab, but there was a line Jeremy said that mentioned the actual creator. He was like, well, Frederick wanted me to kill myself, and it's just like, at first, you know, I was a little confused myself. I was like, who the hell is Frederick? Why are we, you know, just hearing about him now? Apparently, that is a reference to the original creator. So for those people who really love the original games, you might enjoy all the reference. You might actually get a lot more of the reference, because I never played the original ones. So a lot of these kind of went over my head. But then doing my research and finding out all this information about this, I was just like, holy crap, man, holy crap. Like, first of all, did y'all know that this is the 7th installment of this game franchise? Yes, yeah, 7th. I was just like, if this game franchise is so well beloved, why have I not really heard about it? 'Cause the only other game I've heard next to the original Alone in the Dark, you know, 1, 2, and 3, is the 2008 one. And I've heard nothing but terrible, hang on, counting to 20 terrible things about that game. We're just going to multiply it by 12 there. The point is, yet again, I don't know why I keep saying the point is today. That seems to be my phrase of the day. I don't know why. But the point is, anyway, the 2008 one was really crappy, really crappy. And I never really heard much about it, so when doing research on this game to see how much of a love letter this is, to find out this was the 7th installment, I was shocked. I was shooketh. Especially when I found out that the 2001 game was technically the last decent game, and that one was kind of a reimagining itself of like the story to a degree. They changed it a little bit where Edward is now some part of some shadow hunter group, and that's why, you know, he's like a old classic 1920s detective in 2001 modern times. You know, they tried to add a little flair to it, make it different. They added some cool mechanics. The problem with the game was that it was definitely meh. It was definitely meh. And the reason why it was meh was because other games did it better. Because again, by the time 2001 rolled around, you already had Resident Evil 2, I think. I think they're in the process of getting ready to release the remake or remastered version of Resident Evil 1. You had Silent Hill 2. You had Fatal Frame. You already had these other survival horror games that came out before 2001 that did it better. Now, don't get me wrong, from what I've heard, the story was pretty good and some of the mechanics are really, really neat, but when it's just a meh game, I can see why it kind of got forgotten. And to be frank, everything after was just complete and utter garbage. And I can kind of actually understand why the 2008 or the 2008 one did pretty crappy. And I do believe I read my research correctly. It was supposed to be a tie-in to the movie. Now, I don't know if a lot of people know that, but yeah, the Alone in the Dark franchise spread off to not one, but two movies. Now, I remember one, and I remember being disappointed in that movie. I think it was mainly because as a kid, I was upset that I thought they stopped the darkness, and it ended with a cliffhanger or something where the creatures were still alive. And that really bothered me as a kid, because I was just like, but he did so much. Why? Like, they got out of everything. Why is the place abandoned? But the movie wasn't that good, as far as I remember. And I don't really feel like looking it up and sitting down and rewatching it, because I got other things I would like to do instead of wasting my time watching a movie that I remember not enjoying. If there is enough likes and comments on this video below, I might sit down and watch the movie. Like, straight up. If this is something y'all really, really want me to do. Like, if y'all want me to do it, I'll do it. But you know what? We gotta get this video up to 5 likes. We'll get this video up to 5 likes. 5 magical little likes and 1 comment saying, go for it. If I have 5 likes and 1 comment going, go for it, I'll do it. I'll sit my happy ass down and I will watch and review Alone in the Dark and see if that movie's still as bad as I remember it being. Now, the point is, that movie was bad. It was so bad that the sequel has nothing to do with the first one, and I have no idea what the sequel's even about. I didn't even watch the sequel. But yeah, apparently the 2008 one was supposed to be a tie-in to the movie, but then the movie got like pushed back or pushed forward or something. And one of them had to get rewritten, basically, because one of them needed to come out, which I think was the movie first. So they rewrote the game, completely changed what the game was supposed to be, and then you got the piece of shit garbage that we have today. So that's why that one didn't work out. And apparently the Alone in the Dark, like Illuminous or something like that, the online game, that's the problem right there. It's an online game. An online game where you had to have 3 other friends with you. And at the time in 2017, nobody really wanted to play that. Especially on a franchise that wasn't doing too hot as well. Like, you had other games that were doing it better at that point. I hate to say it, Dead by Daylight. Need I say more? I really hate to say that. Like, I really do. I really, really do. But online horror games, Dead by Daylight at that time, I think was somewhat coming up because it was 2017. I think when that Alone in the Dark game came out, and I want to say 2016 is when DBD came out. Now don't get me wrong. I'm sure it was a fabulous game. I don't know. I never played it. I didn't even look up gameplay footage, but from all the reviews I saw of it, people did not like this game. People did not like it. So to find out that this franchise has had a really, really rough time in the past, like, 20 years since the last time, God damn, that just made me feel old. That really just made me feel old right there. Just, Jesus Christ, 20 years of badness right there. The point is, 92, 93, 94 was like the pinnacle topness for Alone in the Dark. Those are the games, those 3 games, plus the little prologue with Jack in the Dark. People absolutely loved it and devoured it and enjoyed it. And the 2001, about the same thing. That was more of a mixed bag. But everything after was just complete and utter garbage. So for them to come out and try to reimagine it and do what they did a phenomenal job. And I think they brought it back to basics. Is it completely back to basics, like strictly survival horror like I want it? No, it was not. It did scare me, however. There were some moments where the creatures, in the dark, I was not paying attention. I was like scanning walls and stuff like that. And the creatures come out of nowhere. They would scare the hell out of me. They did a good job. They did a fantastic job of making me feel unsettled. It had spine-chilling moments. So I did like that aspect, but I would have loved to go back to full basic with like no guns. I haven't played a game like that in forever, and I would love to play a game like that. And when I mean no guns, I mean also no camera obscura. Okay, don't get me wrong. Fatal Frame is great, but that's still considered a quote unquote gun to me because you were taking shots at ghosts to make them go away. At least that is a weapon. Just okay, back up, ghost, back up, click, click, click. But no, you know, like I would like to actually, you know, have no other choice but to run. And there's actually a part in the reimagining that has that aspect where you can't fight. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but you had to run. You're in the tunnels and you were getting swarmed and you had to run. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But with all that in mind, with all that information in mind, that is why I give this game a solid 8, because of that kind of love and dedication they had for the original 3 games, and the fact that they were trying to bring this game that has not had the best track record to be kind of on top again. Did they succeed in that? No, they didn't. They dropped the ball. They really did. They dropped the ball with pushing it back a couple of times and a lot of the bugs and stuff. But I do feel like I still need to give them where credit is due. And I feel like maybe if given another opportunity and fixing the bugs and glitches, maybe down the road people will love the reimagining and we could possibly get a sequel. And I would like a sequel. I honestly would love a sequel to Alone in the Dark. Again, bring back Gracie, bring on Hell's Kitchen for me. I would love to see I would love to see their input on zombies at this point. The zombie pirates gangsters, I would love to see that. But why don't I delve in a little bit more into the story and why I still give it a good 8. Because remember I said the story was a key element to me and the acting of why I gave it an 8. So, of course, you can either play as Edward or Emily. I was about to say Edward and Emily. No, you can only play one or the other, Edward or Emily. And they kind of got the same storylines to a degree, where certain aspects, you know, you still gotta, you know, hit, like, you still gotta go to the Hateful Mine, you still go to Tarawea, you still go, actually, no, I don't think you go to Tarawea as Emily. You wind up going to your own flashback, I think, don't hold me to it. I know you go to the shipping company. I don't remember, as Emily, where all do you go at? Because I mainly play a lot of Edward, because again, I love David. David's my boo, he's my everything. And don't get me wrong, Jodie did a fantastic job, and I loved her in Killing Eve and Free Guy. She's fantastic. But David, come on, man, he's my Harper. I was about to say Harper. My Harper from Stranger Things, my Hopper. I love him, and I was so heartbroken at that one season of Stranger Things when we all thought he died. But I knew he wasn't dead. I knew it. I was like, we didn't see him die on screen. That man's still alive. And everyone was just like, no, he's dead. I'm like, no, he's not. Rule number 1 when it comes to killing a character off: if you didn't see it, it didn't happen. I didn't see it, it didn't happen, and what do you know, he was alive and well come season 4, and he was hanging out in Russia. Poor man just needed a break. Point is, he was my boo, and I spent a lot of time with him. And with him, though, you did do a lot of traveling. You went to, of course, the French Quarters. You went to the Hateful Mound, Tarawea, the Shipping Company, the pyramids, and a boat. With Emily, I think you went to, let's see, of course you hang out in Dorsetto. You also went to the French Quarters. You also went, I think, to the Hateful Mound. You also went to, I want to say the Shipping Company. I want to say you went to the Shipping Company. The pyramids may have been different. I want to say the pyramids were different because instead of going to the pyramids, you went somewhere else. But it might have been the pyramids. Again, I should have wrote down Emily's side. I really didn't think about that, to be honest. The point is, you hit a lot of the same beats and story chapter points. It kind of changes a little bit when it comes to going inside their heads. And I'll get there when I get there, but at one point, Edward, he's dealing with his own madness, his own demons, and he finds out that Gracie was a little girl he saved during a case. And that was his own demons he had to face. And with Emily, she found out that, or not found out, but she blames herself for what happened to her husband. But I'll get more into that in a minute. The point is, you can play either one of these guys. Basically the same beats you hit, just kind of different cutscenes. Everybody acts a little differently. Like with Edward, he's more confident. He's more fun, charming. People kind of look at him like he's a little bit crazy, especially Emily when he's just like, "Have you seen anything like supernatural or paranoia or anything like that?" And she's just like, "Mr. Carnaby, I'm worried about you." And he's just like, "Yeah, sure, okay, I want to go investigate something else. I want to go through this wardrobe or something else." But with Emily, man, some of these people were just downright mean to her. Like at the corner store, oh my God, Batiste, when he met Edward, he's just like, "Mr. Carnaby, are you a thinking man?" "Well, I'll try not to be." "Well, be safe. Here's the direction you got to go." Emily walks in there, and he just straight up just chokes her out. He's just like, "Oh my God, Miss Emily, I'm so sorry." It's just like, bro, why are you being so vicious towards me? And the same thing, when you meet the doctor, when you meet the freaking doctor, when he's talking to Edward, he's all like, "Oh, you're a man who likes scotch. Oh, that's great. Oh, you need to, don't worry about Jeremy." He's more forthcoming with information because he's a man. But Emily, she gets talked down to. She gets talked down to. They're just like, "Yeah, Emily, I see you might be going crazy. You sure you don't want to check yourself in here?" Like, he's just talking down to her. Like, I wanted to get up and fucking, pardon my French on that, but I did. I wanted to punch him in the face. I did. Him and Gracie, oh my God, that little girl. Okay, so as Edward, I loved her. I thought she was a treat. She was adorable. I was just like, "Oh, Gracie, I must save you at the end." As Emily, I was like, let that little bitch burn. Let her burn. Oh my God. When she stabs Emily with a needle and then laughs about it. And then at a later point, she slaps Emily a couple of times and then calls her a bad girl. Like, little girl, if you were my child, you would be knocked into coma. You'll be waking up 3 months from now going, "I think I learned my message, mother." Like, straight up, like, this little girl would have needed help picking up her teeth out of her mouth. Like, you don't hit me. You don't hit me. I don't care who you are or what age you are. You slap me like that? Oh, it is on like Donkey Kong, okay? These hands are rated E for everybody, okay? I don't play that game, okay? I don't. So when Grace started hitting her, I got mad. I was just like, is there an option where I could just deck this little girl? But the point is, people are very mean to Emily, but very cool with Edward, except for Ruth. Ruth is more flirtatious towards Emily and more kind of condescending to Edward, but she still enjoys his company. But I think she more likes Emily nonetheless. But I digress. The point is, you'll play these characters, things are a little different, and the whole way of the game is, this time, Jeremy is not dead, he's just missing, so you go to Dorsetto. Now, the thing about Dorsetto is, This is H.P. Lovecraft, okay? They made several notes in reference and mentions that Drusetto was founded or bought, the piece of property was bought by a guy who made a cult and did rituals. There was over 100 members in this cult, and he did rituals to a fertility goddess. And then eventually they got raided by the U.S. government, and then the place got burned to the ground, and the property went over to somebody else. And then that person, they too went a little crazy, worshiping a fertility goddess and rituals and shenanigans. And they were also an occult people. And then again, once they died out, another raid happened where a bunch of kids were being sacrificed to a fertility goddess. Are we seeing a pattern here? Because I am. This land is just cursed. This land was picked by the fertility goddess herself. And she has many names, but in this context, she's called the Black Goat, the mother of many young. Shub-Niggurath. There we go. I had to make sure I said that right. Shub-Niggurath, though, she is the goddess, you know. And the thing about H.P. Lovecraft creatures is just being around their presence, just in the vicinity. They even made a mention in the game that the people in the vicinity of Drusetto are going crazy. And that's what happens when you're around these beings. They make you go crazy. They make you see things. They make you hear things. They make you question every ounce of your reality, because that's the type of gods they are. They don't care. They like messing with you. Again, watch Glorious. Glorious is a prime example. This entire movie takes place inside a bathroom, basically a rundown bathroom on the side of the road, but it all takes place within 2 stalls in the bathroom. Like, once he gets inside the bathroom, he doesn't come out. And crazy shenanigans happens in that place. But they do that. That's what they do. So keep that in mind when you're playing the game. And also keep this in mind. When they built Drusetto, of course, after it burnt down, they built it around the tree. And this particular tree is, of course, our tree fertility goddess. And because of that, like I said, everything's going crazy because of the tree. And on top of that, this new place is now the home for, I'm not going to say mentally unstable people, but it's basically a home for where the rich people could put the black sheep of their family. Which means if you were considered a little taboo, such as Ruth. Ruth was a party girl. Oh, God, what the hell am I trying to say? Ruth is a party girl. A full-on alcoholic, loves to drink, loves to smoke, loves to dance. But here's the reason why I think she's in there. And this is a very, very, very sad factor. And I love this little bit because this is from history itself. She's gay. She's gay. It's obvious she's gay. And there's nothing wrong with that, I have no problem with that because, my roommate's gay, I'm pansexual, no big deal. But back in the 20s, it was extremely taboo. Let's take American Horror Story Season 2 for an example. One of our creators, not creators, but the journalist, I can never remember her name, that actress, she portrayed a gay character in the show, and that's the grounds they used to lock her up, because they didn't think it was okay. Clearly something's wrong with you. You like women, you like the same sex as yourself, you're not right in the head. You must get out of my face. And they did that a lot. Whether you were a male or a female, if you were gay and your family was rich enough and could get rid of you, you were gone. You were gone to places like this, and they didn't care if you were. And it's so messed up because there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, you love who you love. You love who you love. It's nothing you decided in life. It's nothing that just happened. It just, you love who you love. And everybody deserves love. And you shouldn't be locked up for that. You should not be locked up just because you love somebody of the same sex. And that's unfortunately the case with Ruth. She was a party girl out of hand, but she's gay. And the sad factor is, I think she is one of the fewer characters next to Gracie who kind of gets what's going on in the game with the whole craziness with the creature and everything. And she's accepted. Thus is why she is the one to do the helping hand between Edward and Emily. Because remember, at a certain point, you know, when we were talking to her, she takes it to the shipping company, and as you're playing Edward, she takes your cigarette and runs off. And she's playing as Emily, she's still smoking a cigarette, and she tells you she'll talk to you later. But what I'm trying to say is, she knows she's crazy. She knows everybody here is crazy, and she has accepted the craziness. She's just going with the flow. Okay, yeah, I'm walking into this place because here's the deal when it comes to how this world in Derceto works. To a degree, none of it's real. Derceto itself is real. The madness we feel is real. But us going to the French quarters and the foggy mist, going to Tarawea, going to Antarctica, going to the boat, the pyramids, the flashbacks, all the shenanigans. Basically, a lot of it is either in Jeremy's subconscious, his own mind that he created. This is why Batiste makes that comment. I think that's his name, by the way. If I'm saying that black guy's name wrong, I do apologize. I didn't write down the name of all the characters. I should have, though. I really should have, because they were all fantastic characters. But he basically said, oh, you're just inside of one of Jeremy's stories. You're also here trapped in one of Jeremy's stories. And I think it's one of those, a lot of people see what we're seeing. You know, they see the French Quarter as this spooky area. Like, you go outside and, you know, what we're seeing is the spooky, creepy atmosphere. You know, fog, it's dark, it's night, it's disturbing. But we haven't left the mansion. We haven't left we haven't gone to New Orleans. We haven't left this area because remember, it's isolated. It's alone. But it's either in Jeremy's head or it's inside our heads. And as Emily, it's the World War II flashbacks and learning about her husband. And for Edward, it is learning about one of the cases he worked on. But we keep getting pulled in and out of this madness, this crazy world that we're in. And Ruth, I feel like she's one of the characters next to Batiste. And I think his sister or his wife, Lottie, L-O-T-T-E, I think was her name. She also sees the shenanigans and has accepted it. And I want to say a majority of the people who are alive anyway, the ones who are alive, which would be, oh God, what's the name? The guy from Baton Rouge. I can't, like, mix something. I don't know. Oh shit, I hit my mic. But he's the guy with the drinking problem and was chasing after Grace. Yeah, him. I think he's somewhat aware of it. That's why he keeps drinking and he's accepting of it. He's all like, yes, let's go into this madness full force. And I think everybody else is, you know, on board with this as well. Like, they all know what's going on except for us as the audience, Edward and Emily. Everybody else is just like, nah, this is just a normal Tuesday for us. You know, Jeremy's just pulling us into his world. It's fine. But, you know, Edward and them, it's all new to them. It's all new to them. But as you're going through this game, though, and you're dealing with the craziness and the enemies and trying to solve all the stories, you find out that Edward knows Gracie, and Gracie was sent to Derceto because her mom wanted to forget about her. Her mom didn't really care. And how she ties in with Edward is she was kidnapped by her father. And her father stole this painting and straight up the mother didn't like that. Mom didn't care he took the child. No, she did not care he took the child. She cared that he took a priceless painting and sold it to a guy named Thorne. Shitty parent of the year, huh? That's what she gets, the award for Shitty Parent of the Year. But she hires Edward, gives him the little sob story. Oh, my baby got kidnapped. And no, she just wanted the money back from the painting. But unfortunately, because Edward was a bit of an alcoholic at the time, God bless him, I don't know if he had a hand per se in the situation, but Gracie and her father's car winds up going off the bridge. And Edward has to dive in, and he can only save one. And unfortunately, it was Gracie. He could not save the father. He only was able to save Gracie. So that's where he knows Gracie from, and that's the thing he's haunted by. And that's how he's kind of tied into Drissetto, is by Gracie. And then you have Emily, who I didn't see this coming. Emily had a husband who went to war. And something happened during the war, and he wound up going to Drissetto on medical leave. And she would come and visit him, but because Drissetto is a crazy place, making people go crazy, making shit happen, such as fungus out the walls and stuff, it made him go a little crazy. So she stepped away from him and stopped visiting him. And unfortunately, that was a bad move on her part, because there was an affection that was going around Drissetto, and because it was getting out of the hand, they locked everybody inside. If they didn't burn the corpse, they were just left inside to rot and die by themselves. Whether they were still alive or not, nobody knows. But her husband died in Drissetto. That's where a lot of the workers know her from. I think that's probably why Jeremy went to Drissetto. Not just because of the last-ditch effort, because he's going through a melancholy. Like, he thinks he's going mad here. He thinks he's going crazy. And it's quite possible. He is a little bit crazy, because she did say that the Hartwards have a problem of having a bit too much melancholy in them. But being at Drissetto does not help him. And this is where it gets a little crazy. It gets a little crazy for Jeremy. So he makes a deal with the Dark Man. Now, who is the Dark Man? It depends. If you go by the mythology, the Dark Man is supposed to be Nyarlathotep, something. It's like a messenger for the gods. It's spelled Nyarlathotep. If anyone knows how to pronounce that, please let me know. The point is, it's a messenger of God. And the message is, you must contain the darkness within Drissetto when this shenanigan happens. He must contain. Now, my theory is, he's supposed to be the conduit for this Shub-Niggurath creature. He's supposed to be the conduit. But because Drissetto's making him go crazy, he doesn't want that per se. That's why he keeps hiding. That's why he's hiding, actively hiding and avoiding what is going to happen. And they did say the only way to get rid of this is to, stab him in the eye. And that's what we end up doing at the end of the game. We accidentally give him a lobotomy. We don't mean to. Even I was shocked by that. I didn't see that shit coming. I was just like, oh my God, we didn't. Oh my God, Jeremy, I was very apologetic. I didn't mean to lobotomize the guy. But because, he's lobotomized, he can no longer be used as a conduit or as a sacrifice or whatever to bring the spirit into his body. So that is why they have Gracie, because unfortunately, Jeremy, I want to say, he didn't want to play ball. And that was obvious, even from the 92 version, he didn't want to play ball. That's why he himself. Gracie, on the other hand, because of all the shenanigans she went through and because Drissetto was just making her crazy, she's all like, la 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 la, yes, let me be sacrificed to this beautiful fertility goddess. And everybody, of course, is like, yes, let's sacrifice this child to this beautiful fertility goddess because, oh, we need praises. Oh, we must, what was that chant they were saying? I know what, let's not repeat that chant. I do not need to accidentally wake up a freaking god. Okay, that's not what we need in 2024, all right? We have enough issues as is, and as Cat Williams says, this is the year of truth, not the year of H.P. Lovecraft bullshit, okay? Like, straight up. The point is, the reason why I think everybody was just happy to go along with this and kind of not really worry about Jeremy is because they had their backup. Or they're like, okay, if Jeremy doesn't want to play ball, we got Gracie here. Because, again, the sacrifice of the children we read about. She fits that criteria. She's a child who's willing to be sacrificed. And it almost came true, by the way. It almost came. I'm going to be honest. I was beyond disturbed by that scene. Just watching Gracie get hung. And the guy from Baton Rouge pulling her up, strangling her. That made me so uncomfortable. I was literally yelling at the TV. Just like, somebody do something, please. What the hell? And eventually, we save her, of course. But that disturbed me. I do not like children being sacrificed like that. I do not. And watching her just go, oh, yes, let's do it. Please. And then she puts the noose around her own neck and does it. I'm just like, oh, no. Like, I was freaking out. But I think it's just the combination of the craziness with Rossetto, the voodoo magic going on, the goddess herself, that culminated into like a certain madness that was not supposed to be released. And this is why Jeremy was running, because he didn't want this madness released. Now, on a realistic level, who the Dark Man is supposed to be, I think is either the representation of the Doctor or of Lottie, who you see when Edward's confronting the Dark Man, starts beating the crap out of her, and she calls her friend over to come sedate Edward. And to a degree, if you think about the Dark Man knows about all this knowledge. The Dark Man tries to stop you on several occasions. Doesn't try to hurt you, but does try to stop you on several occasions. And you unintentionally die if you get too close to the little guy. Or big guy, I should say. He's a really tall guy. Really tall, very scary. First time I saw him, I was not expecting him to be standing right there, but he was. But it's a combination of the craziness that makes me not sure whether or not what we're seeing is real. Because, again, like I said, everything that we've seen is inside of Drissetto. It's inside of Drissetto, inside the minds of Edward, inside the minds of Emily, and inside the minds of Jeremy. We go nowhere else. And, again, I think the reason why Ruth, and quite possibly Gracie, because we saw in the prologue, Gracie, she also went into this world. I think the reason why they're cool with it is because they're just crazy too. A lot of them are crazy, and if they didn't agree, such as the woman who's doing the writing, the one who wrote the Slaughter Gulch movie, and I think a couple of the other characters that we really didn't get to know, they were just mentioned in one of the patient notes, they got killed. They straight up got killed. Like, they were just killed, and nobody questioned it. Like, even Emily and Edward, like, I think Emily brought it up to Edward, and he's like, yeah, I was distracted by some other things. I didn't even think about that. And I want to say it's because they didn't want to play along. They did not want to play along, so they had to go. They had to go. But I like that, and I like the elements that it is a combination of instead of just being a cursed piece of land, basically, this fertility god, the voodoo magic, the craziness, and it all accumulates to them wanting to prosper and do well. And see, this is why I made the comment when playing the game that you don't mess with voodoo, man. You do not mess with voodoo. Because voodoo, of course, is supposed to be, when used correctly, good fortune. And the thing with voodoo is, you never do it on yourself. You never, ever, ever do it for yourself or for selfish reasons. You do it to help others in a non-selfish way. And the thing is, you don't tell them about it either. You know, you don't just walk up to them and be like, well, this is a spell for you to help you out. You don't do that. You just do it. And then just let the dominoes fall where they fall. The problem with that is, what you put out is also what you put in. So, yeah, you may put out good fortune, but if you did it in a malicious way, like, say you wanted your mom to win the lottery because you knew she was about to die, so you knew when she died, that money would go to you. She used voodoo on that. Well, she'll get that money, But watch it turn around on you where you're about to be bankrupt and broke and on your own, beaten, maybe in jail, and she had to use all that money on a court case to save your ass. That's how that works. And if you use it for a malicious way, if it's not justified, say it is justified, like say it is justified, you're purposely targeting somebody who deserves this malicious compliant. Again, you have to keep in mind what you put out is what's going to come back to you. So if you want to hurt somebody, you got to know it's going to hurt you too. And that is why I say I don't mess with voodoo. Voodoo is very dangerous. As someone who grew up in Louisiana, I'm not going to say I messed around with voodoo, but I know what I'm talking about when it comes to voodoo. I know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to voodoo. I am Creole. I may not look it. Trust me, I may not look it, but I am born and raised in Louisiana. A lot of my ancestors come from Louisiana. And a lot of my relatives still live in Louisiana. But I know what I'm talking about when it comes to voodoo. So having that aspect with the H.P. Lovecraft stuff, it's very beautiful. It's a very beautiful story told right here. And I absolutely love the craziness to it. I do. And that's some aspects I think a lot of people are missing because the story's so crazy, it's so convoluted because there's so much going on. You know, you got the Emily stuff going on, Edward stuff, you got the Gracie stuff, you got this god, you're mentioning voodoo, and it seems like none of it goes in together. Like, it literally looks like a puzzle where none of the pieces fit, but they do. If you turn it sideways and look at it with your head cocked to the left, it actually does make sense and does fit together. Because, like I said, the creatures from H.P. Lovecraft, when just being around them makes you crazy. And then the house has nothing but crazy people in it already who are willing and accepting this craziness. This place also allows voodoo magic and occultists to happen. Of course, all that energy is going to combine into a crazy dormitory of madness. And that is what I love. People have accepted it. Again, let's go back with Ruth. Ruth has accepted this. She's just like, wow, this is why I come and go. This is why I leave. Like, you could literally just open a door, next thing you know, you're in another world. And granted, that scared the hell out of me several times because I'm used to Silent Hill, you know, the sirens going off, you know, woo, and the fog rolling in, it's dark and stuff. No, not in this game. You just touch your doorknob, you're in another world, and it was very jarring, very scary. But after a while, I got used to it. So I feel like if I lived in that house and I was doing that madness, oh yeah, no, I would get very, very much used to it. And that is why they agreed to do this, why they wanted to do this. And I want to say their original intentions have been good where they were praying to the fertility god in different aspects. They were, you know, really trying to worship this fertility goddess. But when voodoo got messed in, because it wasn't until Lottie, and it's in the first chapter, you read that Lottie found her interest in voodoo. I think that was the catalyst that started this, because I want to say she was probably pretty dormant, the tree goddess was pretty dormant for a while, and then when voodoo got introduced back into the land, she woke up and went, all right, guys, I got a plan, and I need you to hear me out. I'm going to need a sacrifice now, okay? And I like this Jeremy fellow, and he's not playing ball, so Gracie is number 2. And of course, because they're crazy and willing to accept this craziness, because, you know, magic works, and this is the madhouse, and things just seem to make sense, they went with it. They went with it. So don't think too hard over the game. It's a little bit more simpler than the story's letting on. The story's not as complicated as you would think. And any of those little loose ends you think is a loose end, it kind of isn't. Like, you just gotta do a little bit more tying in, more reference and nods. Because a lot of loose ends people think are loose ends are more reference and nods to the other 3 games. And again, I can kind of get why they did that, because it's supposed to be a love letter to those games. But for those who never played the original games, they're going to be a little confused and lost. So I get it, but, you know, that's why I do research. That's why I try to understand it. But as somebody who's never played the original games, I thought that was brilliant. You know, because it made me want to go back and do research on these original games and brought spotlight to these games. And even in the end, when you get through all the craziness and the madness and you burn the Drissetto down after killing the tree goddess and, you know, y'all leave to go to New Orleans, it, from beginning to end, just felt really, really clean to me, story-wise. Story-wise, it felt good to me. Yeah, there were some moments I originally was confused about, especially only playing one side. But once you play both sides, you get both sides of the perspectives. You see the difference in the cutscenes between how people react towards Emily, the way that people are acting towards Edward. And then you get all the notes and information, all the extra little goodies, and then you do a little bit more research and find out all the nods and reference. Then the story starts making sense overall. Like, straight up, the story starts making sense, and it's beautiful. To me, this was a beautiful game. Is it perfect? No. By far means it's not perfect. Again, it had its issues. But to me, story-wise, acting-wise, the Lovecrafting-wise, I thought it was great. And I know I did my best to try to explain the story a little bit, maybe tie in some stuff. If you have any other questions, and if there's something you want, I could do a deep dive into the game itself and try my best to explain the stories and fill in any gaps y'all have. And if that's something y'all want, again, 5 likes, say in the comments down below, just go for it, and I will do it. But just let me know which one you want me to go for, though, if it's a full retrospect of the full franchise overall, and or a complete explanation on the game's story itself, just let me know, because I wouldn't mind doing it. I just need to know if it's something y'all would be willing to watch, because that's a lot of research I'm going to have to do and a lot of time, and I would really hate to put a lot of time and effort into something y'all just don't want to hear from me, and I can kind of get it. Some people explain it better than I can, so yeah, of course, watch those guys, like, straight up, because they know what they're doing. Not so much. I just like to have fun, and I see stuff, you know, in games and movies and TV shows, a lot of people just don't catch on to because I've watched so much. I wanted to be an actress when I was, you know, growing up because I thought it would be fun and cool. So I took acting classes. I was a theater major in college and everything. You know, and it was something I thoroughly enjoyed, especially being on stage. I did a lot of stuff on stage. You know, I was in a dance academy for a couple of years, so I did like Nutcracker, Swan Lake, stuff like that. And of course, in high school, I did a lot of production and stuff. I think we were in Seussical and one other play we did. I know in college I did a lot more stuff. Alone in the Dark. I think that was the name of the. It was supposed to be based off Audrey Hepburn, I think that was her name. That wonderful actress back in the 50s and 60s. And she played a blind woman, and like some crooky neighbor people were coming into her house and everything. We did a play based on that, and I played the little girl. Funny enough, I think her name was Gracie, too. Funny enough. And it's kind of funny. I'm going to have to look at my playbill about that, because I still have my playbill from when I did that in college. But the point is, because I do a lot, because I'm very passionate about acting and writing and movies, directions, I look into a lot of the details, and I see things a lot of people don't see, so that's why I like doing stuff like this, and looking into, you know, more explanations about, you know, how I see the story, and maybe I could help explain and fill in the gaps that a lot of people just don't see or just don't get, or not making the connections to. And I feel like if people did, you know, do, you know, a little bit of research and actually, you know, went fully into the game and maybe even looked up a YouTube video of an explanation, they might understand the story a little bit more and not be as confused, and maybe wouldn't be as negative towards the game as they have been. Because like I said, don't get me wrong, I've seen a lot of mixed reviews to this game. You know, again, a lot of the chastising comes from the bugs, the glitches, the fact that this game was delayed twice, and, you know, you haven't really done anything to fix it. And the combat, don't forget about the combat. People just didn't like the combat, and the story is confusing. And I think that's why a lot of people are giving the negative views. And like I said, I see the little things, the little details. I noticed a lot of the nods and reference. And I also love the fact that they still kept the same exploration and puzzle solving like they did in the original games. They didn't change too much of the game mechanics itself. They didn't really change too much when reimagining it. It's not like certain movies. Like Ghostbusters 2016 was a reimagining of what Ghostbusters back in the 80s was. We all know how shitty that movie was. Like, I'm sorry, they could be the people who are like, no, that was a good movie. Yeah, there is the right opinion and there's a wrong opinion. If you think 2016's Ghostbuster was the best damn movie you ever saw, you are severely wrong. And I can prove it to you if you want to argue about it at a later date. I'm not even joking, like, straight up. The point is, when it comes to reimaginings, if you don't put the right love and effort into it, you're going to get a shitty thing overall. But they went with the aspect of like Resident Evil reimagining and Dead Space reimagining. Because I don't even know they're technically called remakes, because they're changing certain aspects that change the flow of the games themselves. So, I don't know, remakes, remasters, reimagining. The point is, they did it correctly to me. They did it correctly, even though I never played the original games. Going back and looking at the research of these games, I think they did a good job on that. And I'm hoping they do make a sequel to this game, and I hope they do a better job at kind of some of the mechanics. Maybe take the feedback from the combat mechanics. Maybe take some of the feedback from the enemy types, the audio issues, the getting stuck on stupid boxes, trophy glitches, stuff like that. Now, if anybody else went through any other bugs or glitches that I don't know of that affected your view of the game, I completely understand. I can't go back and change how I played the game and what bugs and glitches I ran into. Because trust me, there were like Cyberpunk. Let's go with Cyberpunk. There were some bugs and glitches I ran into in Cyberpunk that a lot of people didn't run into. I want to say like PC players, and it's because it was like console exclusive glitches. Like for me, one of the I want to say console exclusive glitches was the one where you had too much stuff in your inventory, and it would basically soft lock you out of your whole gameplay. Like, and it was terrifying. Because I died and I tried to load back in my game and it kept giving me an error code. It was like, error, this file is corrupted, this file is corrupted. And at this point, I spent 16 hours in the game. And I've saved multiple times. I'm nearing the end of the game. And I've been playing this on stream, by the way. So, yeah, I dealt with some of that shit. And other people didn't, but they got my frustration. So I feel that if you went through some other bugs and glitches that made you drop the score to like a 7, a 6, a 5, a -2, I get it, man. I get it. But same way, don't chastise me for my review and input on this. Again, this is just my input. My input, my experience with the game, how I enjoyed the game, and what I thought of the game. Again, I'm not saying I'm wrong or right on this one. Now, we're talking about Ghostbusters 2016. I'm right. That movie sucked. That movie is the worst piece of dog shit I've ever seen. Terrible writing. They tried too hard. I'm very disappointed in all those actresses because I know they could do better than that. I know they could do better than that. I've seen them on SNL. They could do better than that. What they did to oh my God, my poor boy. They did him so dirty in that movie. Oh God, they made him stupid. Beyond stupid. I'm just like, bro, why did you let them make you stupid, Chris? Oh, man. Oh, seriously, though. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed the game. I give it an 8 out of 10. I actually want a sequel, and I would love to see David come back and Jodie come back to replay Emily and Edward. I know we may not get Emily, but I would love to see David come back and play Edward because he had a blast, it seemed like. I absolutely loved him in that movie. And the game, he was such a treat. Such a real treat. And yeah, the mocap I thought was good. I really felt like I was on the journey with them. I did. But I think I done rambled on long enough about this game. I really can't say too much more about this game except I had a good time with it. The bugs were just glitchy and a little annoying, but I got past it. But, you know, let me know what y'all think in the comments down below, because y'all may have had a worse experience than me. Y'all may have had a better experience than me. Y'all may have liked it or disliked it more than I did. I mean, I have no idea unless y'all tell me in the comments down below. But, yeah. I think overall, it should be a fun sequel if they make a sequel. And if you want a sequel, also write that in the comment down below. Well, like I said, I think I've done rambled on long enough here, so why don't we go ahead and end this podcast here. I hope everybody who has watched, is watching, will watch. I hope you enjoy. Hope everybody has a fantastic and a wonderful night. And guys, don't forget, if you're watching this video here on YouTube, give this video a like, subscribe, comment down below, hit the notification bell, because you never know what's going to happen here. Trust me, I never know, especially here on YouTube, because I'm always choosing games, movies, TV shows to talk about here on the podcast, and also games and walkthroughs, any kind of horror games, TCM, DVD here on the YouTube. Y'all know me, I'm always all over the place when it comes to my games. And when it comes to listening on Anchor and Spotify, also give this video a like, subscribe, and I have no idea if you can comment or not, but go ahead and give it a shot, because you never know what's going to happen here. Trust me, I never know. I know I'm pretty bad about the podcast recently, because, you know, last year I was like every week posting one out. But I just can't do it anymore, because that's a lot of time, a lot of effort, and there was also some issues where I got overly excited about when to watch certain movies, and I didn't take into consideration of watching it with others, and they apparently got their feelings hurt by that, and I don't want to hurt people's feelings, so I don't want to make any promises nor guarantees of watching certain movies until I sit down with the rest of my people, so no one gets their feelings hurt about these movies I watch. Because I do not want to hurt people's feelings, especially my friends and my loved ones who want to also watch these movies. And I'm in a hurry to do the podcast. So that's why we're, 1 to 2 a month, maybe 3. We'll just have to see how the month goes. We're going to at least shoot for 1 a month. I want to say last month, unfortunately, I didn't get to one because I originally planned on doing Reanimator because of Barbara Crampton coming into TCM. But shit happened. I couldn't get to it. By the time I sat down and was able to do the podcast itself, I missed my window of opportunity, and I was just like, screw it. We'll do an extra one come this month, because I do plan on doing a movie review on the 20th. I will probably have that out probably a couple of days after, but I am waiting for Late Night with the Devil. That will be streaming on Shudder on the 20th. I will be sitting down and watching it. Absolutely cannot wait. I will also be talking about it here on the podcast, though. That should be a super fun one. And I have another one in the works. Basically, it's just a simple little review of Mike Flanagan's work, of which ones I find the best and worst out of everything he's done. And mainly I was inspired because I was watching but I was reading an article for, I think, Screen Rants, and they were talking about, before Mike Flanagan goes to Amazon, he needs to finish one show, and out of curiosity, I was like, well, what show y'all talking about? And it was Midnight Mass, and that kind of, triggered me a little bit, because I'm like, out of all the shows you want a sequel to, you want Midnight Mass, the worst one out of the bunch? And I caught myself, I was like, wait a minute. Is Midnight Mass the worst one out of the bunch? So I kind of want to sit through and see, go through a listing. Because I've seen a lot of Mike Flanagan's work. I'm not going to lie. I've seen majority of his work. I've been watching his movies longer than I thought. I thought originally my first Mike Flanagan thing was Oculus. Turns out it was another film that I seen. I can never pronounce it, but it's basically about a woman who gets lost in some tunnels and cannot get out because an entity will not let her out, and it's an evil entity that just wants to kill her, or something like that. I can't really remember. It was a crazy movie, all I know. But yeah, apparently I've been watching his work for a long time, so I do kind of want to sit down and maybe talk about why I think some of his work's better than his other works. So, and again, that's a maybe if I got time, because there's one thing I haven't seen from Mike, and that is the Midnight Club show that was on Netflix. I haven't seen it. So, yeah, I need to sit down and at least watch a retrospect or a review or the show itself. I don't know. I have not heard not great things about the show, but I haven't heard nothing bad about the show either. I just don't want to end up wasting my time, because I got a lot of shows I like to watch. Right now, just a little fun fact, I'm watching The Rookie. I'm somewhere about to get started on season 3 with Nolan and that freaking cop, that dirty cop who is framing him for crimes he didn't commit. Oh yeah, I'm at that part, and I'm just like, I'm mad as hell. I am mad as hell. I'm just like, I can't believe y'all doing this to my boy Nolan. Tim, come on, man, back me up, Tim, because we all know Tim needs to back him up. Oh, God, I can't believe people are believing that Nolan would do this. It's the sad part. But yeah, I'm watching that, and I need to catch up on one time I got reincarnated as a slime, because I'm behind in that, and I'm behind a couple other shows. So, you know, I gotta pick and choose my shows carefully, because yeah, there are a lot of shows I do watch that I do not talk about on the podcast, because I just love TV shows. I love TV shows, movies, video games, anything that can keep my mind from not thinking about how shitty our economic system is. I love it. I definitely love it. But like I said, I think I done rambled on long enough, so I will probably see y'all next time on the podcast for another fantastic episode. It'll be number 50. We will be talking about Late Night with the Devil. But that's a story for another day, so until then, my friends, y'all take care.